I think just like being able to give each other like grace if it is a little awkward, if it is a little clunky. But if the whole date is like that, then yeah, that's maybe something to be like, I don't know if I want to do this again. But
Yeah.
if there's moments of that, that's totally normal.
Welcome to the Christians Who Date podcast with Andrea Alley and
Lauren Bornique.
Callie Christopherson.
wow, that might be one of the best ones we've had in a while.
I mean, there was still like a pause, and Kelly and I had to have eye contact to know, is it me? Is it you? So there's still some clunkiness there. Okay, you all. So I get to start our intro today because I am smack dab in the middle of two of my favorite women's birthdays. Yesterday, we had Callie's birthday. That's right. On October 30th. Callie, happy birthday. 31.
31.
And then we have Saturday, Andrea's birthday, November 2nd, where you're going to be 34.
34.
34,
no,
yeah.
34.
Oh it's like all the years are blending together.
But
so
we look so young, so it's
you guys
hard
look
to remember.
I have to budget for you all always in November. October, November. Because it's like two of my favorite people's birthdays. And I'm like, okay, let's do this. I already like got their cards sent to them.
She sure did.
But
yeah, she did. She's
anyways, would love Andrew and I wanted to talk a little bit about Callie first and her birthday. Because as you all have heard in the past, Callie's a babe. And she's a fashion icon. She's a fashion icon.
Yeah.
So we already like knew it was her birthday. She's gonna have her birthday party. I'm scrolling on Facebook, which is so rare, and I see a picture of her pop up, and she is wearing the hottest bodysuit outfit. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I just squealed and screamed and went into our group chat, and I was like, what are you wearing? You look so freaking good. And Dre, I'd love to hear your thoughts about Callie before Callie talks about her fashion.
Yeah, Andrea, what's your thoughts?
She's also the only one who has worn like something with a little midriff on the first date.
Bold. It's true.
Remember that outfit? Yeah. And Lauren and I are just like, who is this girl? She's such an edgy Christian who dates.
I wear like t-shirts like on my first dates. I don't know.
Yeah, no, me too.
And I was like, Callie was wearing like the cutest bodysuit. It was like cut out, like I don't know. She looked like, I was like Sabrina Carpenter. I don't know. She looks so good.
I don't know. Y'all have noticed. We didn't get to introduce them last time, but she has the fringe happening now.
Right.
The bangs.
Bangs are back.
Bangs are back.
So she's basically Anne Hathaway in that movie where she dates a teenager.
Yes, but she's not dating a teenager.
She's not dating a teenager.
We're not into that. We'll talk about that in another episode.
To be clear,
intergenerational dating. Oh my god! We will have an episode on intergenerational dating.
We will not.
Yes, we will, because people are doing it. We got to discuss this. We got to address intergenerational dating. When Gen Zers date boomers, it's happening. It's happening. Grandpas are dating 19-year-olds. We all know this. Trey, can you focus?
As Lauren's talking about intergenerational dating, can you focus, Dre?
Okay, that's not the point right now. We are discussing Callie's hotness, and then we're going to talk about Dre's birthday.
I was trying to clear Anne Hathaway's name because she actually just dated like a 24-year-old in that movie, not a teenager. So
yeah, thank you for clearing.
Yeah. Really wanted to make sure her hypothetical made-up scenario was portrayed correctly.
Thank you. And then I got into like how passionate I am about my thoughts.
And then Lauren took it a direction for sure.
I always do.
She always
but
does.
Callie, tell us about your outfit.
Okay, what do you want to know? You want to know who was I wearing?
I just want to know, how did you get so bold to wear
Christopherson, who are you wearing?
How did you get so bold to wear such an amazing hot outfit? Like, I don't know if I'd ever have that boldness.
Oh my gosh, Lauren.
Which is
you
hilarious
kill
because
me.
Lauren's the one that like works out
Yes.
like 3 times a day.
I know. I'll
Yes.
wear like a sports bra, but it's like at a gym where like everyone's wearing sports bras.
Well, okay, so I am a big fan of modesty. I will say that in like, day-to-day life. But I think you can just, you can have fun with it. I don't see any problem with like a little midriff. I think that that's fine. You do
A
have to
little
like
tasteful midriff.
just a little something something. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. You can always check with your friends if you're on the fence and you're like, I don't know if this is pushing it or not. Ask a friend that will give you an honest feedback. Like I would ask you guys if I was genuinely like, I don't know about this. But I just, I used to be a bit more, I think, cautious with things. And then in the last couple of years, I'm kind of like, I feel fine about it.
Oh,
So,
yeah. You look great.
Just go for it. And it's just kind of fun, 30s. What are you going to do? Just got to go for
flirty,
it.
and thriving over
That's what I
there.
do.
She's doing
Yep.
all of it. Anyways,
That's
she
right.
looked amazing. It looked like you had a
Thank
great
you.
birthday. I don't know if you want to say
Great
anything about your birthday before we hear about Dre's future birthday.
Future birthday. We're so excited for it. No, it was great. These two, it was actually so cute. They FaceTimed me the night before my birthday on a whim. And we were like, oh my gosh, we're all like free, which just never happens unless we
Yep.
schedule it on Thursday nights for our podcast
True.
recording. But they FaceTimed me. They had both sent me cards. Andrea sent me a Trader Joe's care package, which, is
So
like
cute.
the dream present. And then Andrea picked me a retirement card because a lot of you voted on what kind of card she should get me.
Yes, you did.
And that's one I also voted for. So
Yeah, Callie voted for her own card.
I was pleased. I was very pleased. And then, they both just wrote the cutest cards. And then also Lauren got me 2 gift cards, sent me via email because she does not trust the mail.
She's told us multiple times.
Yeah, people steal the gift cards.
So I was like, great, I'll look for the email. And then we all drank some sort of hot beverage because we were inspired by Andrea drinking magnesium that we thought was like hot chocolate. And so then we just hung out and it was great. But my birthday was amazing. My roommates, old and new, came together.
Old and new.
So many roommates.
Blew up a bunch of, like, probably 100 balloons in our house. Literally.
Which is so cute.
Overflowing.
I love
and
that.
I got multiple bouquets of flowers. I got
All the
gifts,
lovers.
All of them. Literally all of them.
Lovers coming
So
in.
many. So many.
Coming out of the woodwork.
Just showering me with gifts. And my sister, we just interviewed her last week.
They know her now.
I cannot wait.
Yeah, she came down with the girls and we hung out and it was just the best. And then I had dinner with some friends and it was amazing. So
Yeah.
great day. Great
Sally's
day.
a dream. Yeah. Dre, tell us a little bit about your birthday in the future.
Yeah.
My birthday, I invited these two, but I guess they can't make it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So
I'm still
busy.
praying.
Still processing that.
Still working on my transporting.
Yeah,
abilities.
teleportation.
Yeah. I'm like, come on, Jesus. Walking into a closet. Dang it.
Such a mix of things there in that theology about time and Paul somewhere.
I love those 2 things. So it's perfect.
I love it. Yeah, so actually this is kind of funny. Like basically since I landed in Austin, I have been dating a lot. Like
Come on.
Lauren and I have talked about something happened when we hit 30. We just started dating up a storm.
We became cool. I don't know.
Yeah,
what about that.
I don't know. We stopped running away and we started running towards the men.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's actually true.
That's actually pretty true.
I admit.
And so anyway, after I got out of my most recent relationship, I was like, okay, I need to like actually build some community and make some friends. And I kind of set the goal for myself of like, I'm going to have enough friends that I can have like a party at my birthday.
I love that.
Yeah. So I have been working on it, you know, showing up at church in various capacities. And yeah, it kind of got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to like start inviting people if I'm gonna do something, because you know, adult schedules are like insane.
Yeah, it's true.
And then I was like, I was kind of nervous, honestly. I was like, should I do this? Like, there's still a very like 7-year-old part of me that is like, is anyone gonna come to my birthday?
Yeah,
It's
real.
vulnerable. Yeah.
So vulnerable. And so I think I reached out to a few people just to like start to put some feelers out, you know, like, would you guys be able to like be free this night for like
Hypothetically.
something? Yeah, say something to where to be going on. And then I invited my like little community group from church, and then I invited the youth leaders and then some other people too, just, you know, here
Throw
and
some
there.
randos in there. No, just kidding.
Rando coffee shop friends or whoever.
Yeah. Just you know, people. So tomorrow we're gonna go play pickleball.
Woo! It's a hype. What's your
It
outfit
is.
gonna look like?
Yeah.
I
Do you have
actually
like a
haven't
tennis
planned
skirt?
it. I know. I haven't planned it. I should think about that.
Like all
Andrea
white.
has great legs, so
She
definitely show
does.
those off.
Yep.
They are long, and it is still warm
And
enough here
beautiful.
that I'll probably be wearing shorts.
She's
So-
like a model. So.
Mhm.
Oh, guys, it's not even my birthday yet.
Doesn't need to be your birthday for it to be true.
Yeah. But
what I
literally
say.
hearing them both about their birthdays and not physically getting to be there, my heart has hurt a little this week.
Oh, it is
I'm like,
hard.
oh, I wish I could physically be with you guys. So
I
I'll
know.
take this
Sweet.
for what this is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
This
I have
podcast,
had like, huh?
I said this podcast helping out the people. That's how
Yep.
I'll get to spend time with you all.
It's true. I know, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
I know.
Every minute.
Yeah.
Minute.
So, Will, speaking of, you know, us in our 30s and dating, should we get to the topic today?
Let's
Yeah,
do it.
well, it's modesty. Actually, we're gonna do the whole podcast.
Yep. Lauren, if you could lead us.
I'm about to rip off my t-shirt
This-
now. No
Oh
joking.
my gosh.
Wow.
That's so crazy. I didn't mean that. Sorry, Mom.
Sorry. This podcast is gonna be called "Modest is Hottest."
Yep.
It's so messed
strap
up.
in. Yeah.
Okay,
Going back to
intergenerational
purity.
dating is really what I want to talk about right now. Okay, Dre, what are we talking about?
Okay. For real. We are basically gonna give a dating 101 for the men specifically, because girls, we talk about this stuff all the time, but it's not like you guys probably most of the time get to like hear the conversation. So we're gonna let you in on the conversation today. Like
Yeah.
we're gonna give you a little, you can be a fly on the wall, and you get to listen to the things that impress us as girls when it comes to the early like talking, pursuit, dating kind of stage. So this will be like a dating 101, the single man's playbook, the Christian
It's good.
man who dates playbook. And yeah, it's like, if you're the type of personality that's like, just tell me exactly what to do, this is your podcast. This
This
is
is
your
it.
podcast.
We want to help you
Yeah.
out as best as we can.
As best we can, because it's one of those things where like there's really small things that go a long way,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and there's things that it's like, you know what, if nobody ever taught you this, or you didn't have it modeled, or you just, you know, you just are kind of trying to figure out dating for yourself, like there might be some things that are missing that you don't even realize. So that's why we're letting you in on the conversation. Did you guys have anything to add to that?
Yeah.
Nope.
I think we could just get started. I
Yeah.
love
Okay.
it.
Let's
Here
go
we
for
go.
it.
The basics, if you will.
The
The
basics.
foundation.
I did kind of want to preface this with sometimes you can do all the right things in dating and still not get a date,
Mhm.
or
Get the
still not.
person you want to go on a
Yeah.
date with.
Yes, you might still not get. Yeah, that's true. You probably will get some date eventually,
Yes.
but you might not get a date with the specific person that you want, or you might not, it might not necessarily work out because there's a lot involved. It's not just like, did he check off all of these, like, things? It's like
Mhm.
there's attraction, there's all sorts of different things that
A
are
lot of
kind of
things you
involved
can't
with it.
control.
Right. That's a
Mhm.
good way of putting it. Yeah, there's a lot that you just can't control. So, but I do think if you implement these things like consistently over time and you keep putting yourself out there, like you'll see a lot more success than if you were just like, didn't do any of these, or maybe did like a couple of them. So, I guess we'll start with like, okay, what do you guys, what should a guy do if he's just trying, or he's like kind of interested in a girl? What are some good ways to express interest, or to show interest, or to even like kind of start getting to know her?
Hmm.
Because sometimes I think guys think they have to ask her on a date right away, but you don't actually have to.
No, I actually think sometimes as girls, at least personally, I liked it when the guy took time becoming friends with me
Mhm.
instead of right off the bat being romantic with me.
Mhm.
I feel like a couple of men that I'm like, oh, they were like really good at dating. They took time to get to know me like in group settings, or they took time to get to know me as friends. And I know sometimes it just can't happen, but like I remember, just, you all know I like athletic things. So like going on hikes, going on runs, walks, grabbing coffee. And, in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, there might be interest because we're
Mhm.
spending time together and we're not explicitly saying, there's interest, or sometimes we would hang out one-on-one depending on the guy. But I liked it because it created like this mystery of like, oh, he's wanting to spend time with me, or he's
Mm.
out of a crowd wanting to talk to me. And so there was like these intentional steps of spending time with me or getting to know me that made me start to pique my interest, or be like, like, what about that guy? Because he's asking these really good questions. Or so I think that friendship stage, if you're able to, is like really key for, just softening a woman's attention towards you. So
Mhm.
that's my first thought. What about you, Callie?
I think finding ways to talk to the person, like striking up a casual conversation, is massive.
Mhm.
Just kind of like you said, Lauren, getting to know each other. But I've always taken notice when a guy will make it a point to talk to me in like different settings. I remember I was at like some event and there was this guy that I had seen around before, and we'd had like a few conversations, but I remember like a friend was like standing by me and she went to the bathroom, and just suddenly he was like right by me and just started talking to me about nothing. And I was like, oh, you're trying to talk to me right now. And I appreciated it because I was like, this was a really small moment, but you just took the opportunity. And then she came back, and I don't remember exactly what happened after that, but I was just like, oh, interesting. And then later, like something kind of happened with us, but just taking the initiative and seizing opportunity when you can to just chat with the person, get to know them. And I think the more that you talk to a girl, like the safer she's going to feel, because you're just
Yes.
establishing like, hey, I just want to get to know you, build a bit of rapport with this person. I think that goes a really long way. So yeah, it doesn't have to be about dating at all. It's just like random stuff and just seeing like, oh, can I just get along with this person in general? And then from that place, you can be like, oh, like, could this be something more? So that's my thought.
I think it kind of cuts the nerves too if you make the
Yes.
goal smaller. Like if you're
Yeah.
like, because if you're like, I'm going to approach this stranger that I've never met before, and then I'm going to ask her on a date, like you might be coming into that with a lot of nerves. I mean,
Yeah.
unless you're like Casanova, but if you're just like, I'm just going to try to talk to her, then
Yep.
you can like kind of get a chance to get comfortable, see if you even like talking to her,
Mhm.
and just feel it out a little bit. Like, and then like Callie said, make her feel safe, and then and then ask her out.
And I think all of this too can even be adjusted or used for those who do online dating, which sounds funny because online dating, then you are already knowing like we want to date. So you're already having that conversation or knowing, but all of this can be used in the same way of conversational getting to know and creating that safety for a woman. And so even if it's just through the messaging, or if you do end up meeting up for a date, creating that friendship still, even if it's labeled as a date, is huge for women to feel safer to then be like, okay, I think I'd go on another date with you because I can actually have a good conversation with you. I feel like you're being intentional with me, even if you already have that in the open of it being a date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah. I was gonna say too, like if you follow someone on Instagram, and even I feel like you can just kind of respond to like some of their stories or comment
Slide
on
into
stuff.
the DMs, you mean?
Slide into the DMs, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But you don't have to slide in asking a date right off the bat. Like just slide in being friendly and then see what she does with it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Because either she'll respond or not. There's been
Yep.
times where I'm like, I know what this person's doing, but I don't want to engage. And then there's been
Totally.
other times I'm like, oh my goodness, that person's trying to talk to me. Great.
Yep.
Let's
Right.
chit chat it up. But I think that is an approach of like a friendly way of just reaching out.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
Yeah. I don't think there's like nothing wrong with that. Honestly, I feel like people are kind of shifting more to that who are just over the dating apps.
yeah.
Like they're
doing more-
shifting more to like just trying to like, I don't know, talk to people on Instagram
LinkedIn.
or slide into the DMs. Yeah,
Lauren's
LinkedIn,
MO.
as Lauren says.
LinkedIn.
So
She's
okay,
asked
so that's
so many
kind of
people
like,
out over LinkedIn. Just
I
say it.
have
Just
not, you
wild.
all.
It's so wild.
I'm not. But with that, okay, so that's like step one is just like starting that soft conversation, connection. Okay, what would be step two?
Step two, I would say, to give you some good verbiage that people have used with me, I would say it's something along the lines of like, hey, I think you're really cool. I would like to get to know you better. I think that's the next phase. Or I'd like to like intentionally get to know you. What are some things guys have said to you guys?
I mean, I've just had guys be like, you want to hang out? You want to do this? You want to grab food? You want to go on a Costco run? Like really random stuff. Like you want to go to the store? You want to go on a walk?
Totally.
And those things, I'm like, oh, this is like low stakes. And I mean, yeah, I've had guys be like, hey, I want to take you to dinner. But I've enjoyed more the ones that I've just wanted to do like kind of like a normal hang. Because then, or like a group hangout, then it's like, oh, okay, we're like a little bit more intentional with one another.
Yeah.
I think I've had both as well. I've had like someone be like, I want to take you on a date, and I've had like, hey, do you just want to hang out sometime? And I think I always just prefer knowing that it's a date, and like, yeah, I think that just sets expectation up well. And again, it doesn't have to be anything intense, but it's just like, oh, would you like to grab coffee sometime? And you can tell if it's like, you can tell if it's a date or not. But I do prefer someone calling it straight up like, do you want to go on a date? Like just grab coffee. I prefer someone just calling it what it is rather than you kind of being like, what am I doing? Because there's been that too where I'm like, I don't know if this is a date or not. But I like it when a guy calls it a date, and yeah, it's just chill. So
what would you say, Lauren, to a guy that's afraid that he's going to get stuck in the friend zone if he like spends too much time just not calling it a date, but just like hanging out?
Like he's afraid that, I mean, I think you have to read the girl, right? You have to figure out their signs. So we give signs of when we're interested. We're texting you a lot. We're touching your shoulder or flirting, you know, we are sometimes like making plans with you, or, you know, like I think there's things we're pretty good at showing when we're interested. And so I think if they're afraid of getting stuck in the friend zone, then eventually they do need to say something. Like if you're like, oh no, I'm being friend zoned. And sometimes, to be honest, women will friend zone you for a while. I friend zoned different guys that I eventually dated or were interested in, just because I was like, I need more time being friends with you. I need to know a little bit more about you. I'm a more cautious person. Well, sometimes I am, depends on the situation. But I think for different people, I'm like, I just need some more time. And so they've been friend zoned. And I'm like, well, can you write out the friend zone? Like, are you okay with that? And so I think I've had to have conversations about that. And I would hope that, you know, like whatever guys are feeling friend zone, that they can have those clear communications with the woman that they're interested in. And so, yeah, I'd say bring it up eventually if you're like, okay, I don't want to be friends with you anymore. I want to be more. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, the best way to get out of the friend zone is to ask to be out of the friend zone.
That's true.
But sometimes we need that friend zone for a little bit.
Yeah, it's true, but I think the times a man gets himself stuck in the friend zone are when he like doesn't make a move for like a year or something. I don't think it's like weeks or months.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it's like takes a lot longer. I think like it's taken really long time for a guy to be like, for me to be like, oh, he's solidly a friend. Like we've been friends for like a long time.
Yeah, that's true.
Like a few weeks in, I'm still kind of like, let's see what he does, you know?
So real. What were you going to say?
I had a thought when you're talking about like how we as women will give like hints or clues. I did want to say though, sometimes we're not great at that. Like there are some women I know. So I'm like, there is room, because sometimes if you are interested in somebody, like you can clam up or just get like really nervous around them or not be good. Point. Like honestly, if I'm really interested in somebody, I usually avoid them. So they would probably think like, oh, I didn't even know she was interested in me. I thought she hated me or something like that. That could be. So I would say like, yeah, those are good things to try to pay attention to though. If a girl is like, yeah, if she's consistent, if she's texting you back, if she's making herself like available to hang out, like those are things to like be aware of, but also like just shoot your shot. Like ultimately, like feel it out, of course. Like you don't want to just come in guns blazing and like freak her out. But like if you're like, oh, I just don't know if she'll say yes or not, well, you're never gonna know unless you ask. So just ask. Yeah. So that's what I wanted to say.
That's good. I'm glad you shared that, because it depends on the personality for sure.
Yeah. Callie and I are probably harder to read than Lauren in those situations.
Dang it.
Dang.
Oh, no, wow. It's good. It's good because then they like know more. But yeah, for us, they're probably like, why does she hate me?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So crazy.
So funny.
Okay. So step 2 is having that conversation or taking a little step.
Take a little step. Like either you want to intentionally get to know her, or like Callie said, you can also just ask her on a date and call it a date. You know what I mean? I have no problem with the word date. I like when it's used because then it's like, okay, this is very clear what this person wants.
Yep.
And what the expectations are too. And so I would say one thing that differentiates the guys that are good at dating from the guys who maybe aren't as good
maybe
is that the guys who are good at dating don't leave you in a gray zone for a long time.
That's good.
Yeah, like you might be in that talking kind of bantery, flirty stage for like, I don't know, a couple weeks or something like that.
A couple weeks.
But like, yeah. but like not for like months.
Mm-mm.
No.
Nope.
The guys that are good at dating will either cut it off because they're like, okay, I decided, you know, this is as much as I want to talk to this person, or they'll move it forward. So,
There's direction.
there's direction. Yeah. It's not just like a casual, like, oh, we're going to like pop up and chat and like, well, I mean, that's actually not even a problem. If you pop up and chat, I do that with some of my guy friends. I think it's more like we're just going to keep consistently chatting and hanging out for like weeks or months, and it's going to just stay at the same level,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And it's like, yeah, that's when it starts to get a little like, okay, what's going on? So yeah, guys who are good at dating will move things forward. One, we talked about a couple ways to move things forward, which is like you can actually ask her on a date. Another thing that is great that moves things forward is to actually pick up a phone and call.
Whoa, a telephone?
What?
I was gonna say that so sassy, and then I was like, why am I so sassy about this?
It's so good. Literally, the times a guy has called me, it is like shocking,
So
first
great.
of all, and also so refreshing.
Yes.
It is like, oh my gosh, you want to communicate with me?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
It's a
Yeah.
big deal just
a
to be
big deal.
called or FaceTimed.
Mhm.
FaceTimed or called. It's like, this is amazing. We're
Yeah.
back in like the 90s.
I love getting called.
90s FaceTime.
90s FaceTime. That wasn't real, but
Nope.
that was more, what was it called? Skype.
They
Oh
didn't
my
even have
gosh, I
Skype.
totally had a
don't
Skype
think.
date before.
Yeah, Skype is a
Yes,
thing.
Yeah.
Andrea
Before
did
Yeah, it
Zoom.
was.
with the stuffed animals.
Oh gosh.
What? Oh my
That
gosh.
is a wild story.
Plot
We'll save
twist.
it. We'll save it.
Well, yeah, we'll save
would
that for another
literally
one.
be a whole podcast.
Yeah.
Just telling that story.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
so
wild.
good. Maybe I can act it out, and you can.
Andrea,
Oh my
let's just preface this story that Andrea is not able to give because it will take a whole podcast. Is the cringiest story I've ever had, but also you like cry laughing because it's so good, and then
It's
I'm like
so
so
good.
sad because it's happened to one of my best friends. So it's like all a mix of emotions.
Oh,
Anyways,
the cringe, ultimate cringe. Cringe wasn't a word back then, but it's the perfect word to describe it.
yes.
I was gonna say though, there's something about a man's voice on the phone for me. It's just
It's nice.
like it's so nice. It just like sets you at ease, and it's just
Unless
like,
they have a terrible voice.
ooh, I
Anyways.
don't think I've had that happen.
I have maybe had one. That was like,
Oh,
oh, this voice is
no.
rough.
Oh,
Because he sounded like
no.
my brother.
Ooh,
Oh,
yeah, that's tough.
yeah.
That's
That's
awkward.
tough.
If you
Poor
sound like
guy.
a if you sound like a family member, it's a
Yeah.
little like
Deal breaker.
That's difficult.
So, anyways,
Yeah.
never mind. On
Okay.
that note.
But call on the phone. There's a guy that was interested in me back in my California days, and I remember right after we met, I was like, I think right after we had our first date, and it was a good first date. The next day I was flying home for Christmas, and he called me during my layover,
So
and I was
sweet.
like, oh,
Yes.
this is so nice. And we just like chatted for like 20, 30 minutes, and it was just like, oh my gosh, I love this.
So fresh.
It is
he won
gold.
so many points just with that like small
Literal gold.
gesture. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep. Love it so much. Okay. So a phone call, asking
Mhm.
someone on a date. Oh, this is one. Okay. So once you start getting in like a texting rhythm, I think it's another thing that separates out the guys that are good at dating from the guys that maybe aren't as good, is they will just be really considerate. So like if I ask a question and they take a really long time to respond, they'll communicate like, hey, sorry, I was like working, or I was like doing this thing.
So
And
good.
It's not that you owe someone an apology necessarily, but it is just a really considerate thing to
Mhm.
do.
Yeah, I was going to say that's so helpful because I think as women, we want security and our minds can go everywhere.
Yeah.
And we feel vulnerable as well. I know guys feel vulnerable texting someone they like, but we do too. And so if we don't hear a response, sadly, within maybe 24 hours, it is like oh, they're just not interested. Like I just had a friend go on a date for the first date and the guy never texted her or called her within like 2 days after. And she's just like, okay, he's not interested, da da da.
Yeah.
And he's just silent. And it's like, hey, he could have at least just said, you know, hey, thank you for the date. I'm no longer interested. And like, thank you, you know, for that time. And so it's just that simple consideration of just that other person, of maybe to not leave any room for thoughts, is so helpful for women, even if it goes in either way of direction. And so when a guy's like, hey, I'm not going to be able to talk to you and, you know, till like tomorrow because I have a family thing and I have work, and so I just want you to know, it's like, then we're not thinking the whole day like, oh my gosh, are they ignoring me, or did I say something? And it just eases us. It like lowers our anxiety.
Yeah. And yeah, like Lauren said, if it's after a date or if it's after something where you've just decided that you're not interested, just rip off the Band-Aid. Like if you don't say anything, if you just ghost her, it's literally like you're peeling the Band-Aid off, like so slowly.
It's painful.
It's so painful. I would much rather someone just rip it off and be like, hey, not interested. Because then it's like the next day, my mind is already like freed up to go to the next person, you know? And it's because otherwise you're like, you know, you're spending days being like, I don't know, am I going to hear from him? Like, I'm not sure. So yeah, just communicate. So when a girl says yes to a date, the next thing that a guy does, if he's good at dating, is he comes up with a plan.
Yes and amen. Yes and amen.
Yep. So he comes up with, I mean, you don't come up with the time necessarily, because you ask her like, when are you free this week or whatever. And then once she tells you, you come up with a place, a time, just lay out her expectations for her. And if she doesn't want to go to that place, or she has a problem with it, like, she can say that. I've said that before, actually. Like, it's usually with online dating, because with online dating, the first couple, I really like to have a place I'm comfortable with. So I have like nicely requested to change the place before, if it's not somewhere that I'm like familiar with or necessarily. I mean, in Austin, parking's a big thing. So if I don't feel like I can park there, I'm like, can we change it to somewhere else? But I just appreciate when a guy is like, this place, this time, this day, and next level, he makes a reservation. That's like even better. I mean, that's kind of down the road when maybe you're going somewhere nicer. But if a guy like puts a lot of forethought to the point that he's like making a reservation, I'm like, wow. Yeah.
Yes.
Any thoughts on that one?
Oh yeah, for sure. It is so attractive for a guy just to take initiative, and just even usually in those stages too, like the guy is learning some things that you like or are interested in. And so I've had guys either just make the decision, which I totally am okay with, and they'll be like, hey, are you okay with like this type of eating place?
Yep.
But I've also liked it when guys are like, oh, Lauren loves healthy food. I had someone say, oh, I know you love healthy food. Here's like 2 different restaurants. Does one of them sound of interest to you? And then he did the rest of like making the reservation, all of that. And that was just so nice. And then, and we can go into more details, but just being intentional on that date. Like, I've had guys bring me flowers or open the door, just those little things that just go so far. You're like, oh my gosh, I feel like a princess. And this is like our first time together. This is amazing. Making that woman feel so special goes so far.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
And
I think with just a guy having a plan and coming up with something, it's just kind of a weird situation if, especially on the first date, if they ask you out on a date and then it's kind of like, oh, well, like it's up to you, basically. You're like, I am not the one asking you out on a date.
You asked me.
You asked me. So just
Yeah.
having some kind of initiative and being like, cool, let's do this place this time. And honestly, it doesn't usually matter like what it is you're doing. So you don't have to like stress over it has to be like a perfect date scenario. It's just like, okay, where would be a good place to have a conversation? I've been to places where it's like a restaurant that has a lot of TVs, and for me that is really hard because I'm like, I am trying to get to know someone right now and there's all these distractions around. It's hard to hear each other. There's like really basic things that you're like, oh, if we had thought about this a little bit more, it could have been a lot better of a situation. Or like, you know, I don't think asking a girl to go to the movies on a first date is maybe the best plan because you're not talking. You're just sitting next to each other the whole time. Or maybe you go get dinner beforehand and then go to the movie afterwards. But the whole point of like a first date is to get to know each other and to see if there's anything there. So making sure that you pick some kind of environment where that is easily happening is going to be your best bet. So, yeah.
That's great. I'm going to tack on to that. I was like, how do I say this?
Do it.
Is with intentionality of distractions is taking away all distractions. So that means
put your phone away.
Wait, oh my gosh, you can't text during your date?
You cannot. Well,
Andrea,
you can text me your date.
If they go to the bathroom, 100%, I'm sending you guys a text on how.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yes. So I would say put away the phone altogether, unless you want to take like a funny selfie. Like I've been on a date where we knew a mutual friend and he's like, let's take a selfie for them. Whatever. That's funny, you know, or they're looking up where we're going to go eat, or that's great. But when you're at the dinner or the lunch or whatever, breakfast, brunch, we love brunch, put your phone away all the way, you know, and just leave that be. Because if you're on your phone or you're looking up stuff, I'm like, oh, you're just not interested. Like, I'm boring to you. So that type of distraction is like, just take it all away. It's so nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I feel like that's a good example, but it shows up a lot of different ways. A lot of girls that I've talked to, it is excruciating if a guy's just like halfway. Like, it's like, if you're not interested, figure out a way to end the date. If you are interested, like, then fully be there. But that is what kills girls, is we're just in this, like, it almost feels like he's just like doing it halfway. And you're just like, I want to be just like the Bible. We want it hot or cold. We don't want lukewarm.
Yeah,
that's right.
It's true. It's true. It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, it's very weird. So same thing, even in like the talking stages, even in a relationship, it's like either work at it or peace out. Like, it's just the like limping along is like the worst feeling ever. Yeah. Especially if you feel like you're really, you know, trying hard to like get to know the person and stuff. So yeah.
Definitely. I think a couple of things too with first dates, or, you know, as you're in the beginning of the dating of guys that I've felt that are really good at dating, is they're asking really good questions and they're just trying to get to know me. They're just wanting to know what I like, what are maybe my love languages, how I feel loved as, you know, a woman, and they're wanting to just have quality time, which quality time is one of my love languages. So that's probably why I'm like, oh my gosh, you want to spend time with me? You want to be intentional with me? You're interested? You want to ask questions? Like, that can go such a far way as just being a really good communicator. And it's not like I need you to be stellar at, you know, all the questions, but I can tell you're making an effort. It's like so endearing when I see guys just like trying, just whatever that looks like.
Oh yeah,
it goes so far. Like, I'm like, you don't need to ask the like craziest questions. I just need to know that you're trying.
Yeah.
And something else we had kind of mentioned was if a conversation is like clunky or awkward, like being able to just navigate it and just like be like, okay, like whatever, like leave room for that. And
Mhm.
you don't have to bail just because you're like, oh, that was a little awkward. Like, yeah, I think that's just true with anybody. Like, you're going to
Yeah.
have moments of like, oh, I don't really know what to say right now. And that's okay. Like, just let it be for a minute. Maybe think of a question to ask. Or if you've been asking all the questions, see if they're going to ask any questions back, because that's really important that it's like mutual. So,
Mhm.
yeah. And I think just like being able to give each other like grace if it is a little awkward, if it is a little clunky. But if the whole date is like that, then yeah, that's maybe something to be like, I don't know if I want to do this again. But
Yeah.
if there's moments of that, that's totally normal.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, you're gonna, and some of it, it's like, okay, maybe you had a moment where a girl didn't respond to things like this well, and that's like what's in your head, but that's more on her. Like a mature girl who, gets this, she just gets it. She gets that like there's going to be awkward, clunky moments, and she won't get scared away either, like
Yeah.
it's part of life. You're learning how to talk to this person. You're learning how you interact. There's nerves involved because it's a date, like it's just, yeah, it's just a normal part of the process. You aren't gonna, yeah, it's not gonna be a movie.
Yeah.
Like I always tell Callie, it's not like the movies.
She's always telling me it's not like the movies. No,
Callie wants it to be just like the movies.
I had a guy tell me that once. Did I share this on here?
I think you did on one of them, but feel free to touch base on it.
Yeah,
but basically, yeah, he was just talking about how like I hadn't been in a relationship, and he's like, well, it's not like the movies. Like he's answering like the reason why I haven't dated anybody. And I was like,
my goodness.
Yeah, I know. Sweet guy. He was trying to be helpful, but I'm like, I'm not an idiot. So anyways.
He's like, get to reality, Callie.
It's like,
that would have been hilarious if you're like, wait, it's not.
Part of me really
Notebook?
wanted to. Yeah, that was what he referenced. He's like, it's not like the Notebook. I was like, oh my gosh.
That's
So
hilarious.
wild.
Like you,
Love-
like it's this brand new information.
Yeah, I was like,
So
shocked.
don't give dad advice when you're on one of your dates. Don't give dad advice. This is what not to do. Another thing I found, like, guys, I just will spell it out. I really think until a woman says no thank you, pay for the meals or the coffees, open the doors, come to the doors, call, like the old fashioned way. I think it goes a long way with women. And a woman, I think guys are afraid, like, is there a feminist? I don't want to, like, I want them to be independent. Like, I think I've seen a lot of guys I've gone on dates with be like a little nervous, like maybe I shouldn't open the door, that's too forward, or maybe I shouldn't pay, like, ugh. And I'm like, nah, just do it, assume it, and then they can always say otherwise if they don't want the door open for them or if they don't want to be paid for. But usually it's like, thank you, this is awesome, like, yes. So
and something a guy could also do in that situation is like, just again, ask, be like, hey, I would actually love to get the door for you if you're okay with that. Like super easy. And then that way a woman can be like, yes or no. And same with paying for a date. I would love to pay for this meal if you're okay with that. Just asking.
But women will try to be all sweet. I've done this. I'm like, oh no, it's okay. It's okay. We do sometimes. So maybe we need to receive.
I guess.
And just be like,
I'm usually like, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I'm usually a straight shooter, so I just say what I think.
You guys are confident. Sometimes I'm like, that's so nice. You don't have to. So
it is a hard, like from the girl's end, you don't want a guy to ever feel obligated, like,
yes, maybe that's it.
I never want to come across like I'm entitled to you buying this for me.
I literally think that's what I'll think is like, I'm like, I don't want you to feel forced to buy something for me.
Totally. Yeah. So
that's where I'm coming from.
I know. I try to like make a point of being very like thankful and because it's like, you didn't have to buy me this.
It's so kind.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But at the same time, yeah, if he offers, I'm usually like, oh, thanks.
Yep.
Thank you so much. That's very
I
generous.
receive.
Yeah,
receive.
I receive. Yeah.
So good.
Okay, I have another one for first date.
We really love the first date ones. It really
I
does set
know.
up things. The first couple dates
really
sets it
does.
up.
Yeah, it really does. You only have one chance to make a first impression, they say. So this happened to a friend of mine.
Was it me? No, I'm just kidding.
Nope.
Okay, great.
Even though a lot of my stories are. But,
Yeah.
so a guy asked her on a date and they were just going to go get coffee. And before she left, she was like, does my outfit look okay? And she looked super cute. She had her hair done. She wasn't like fancy. She was just like cute. She had like cute jeans and like nice top and
she
stuff.
looked good.
She looked good. Yeah. Like I was like, you look good. Yeah. Like, and I was proud of her. I was like, you are showing up for this date. This is amazing.
Cute.
And she gets to this first date with this guy that's, it's coffee and he's wearing gym clothes. And she felt like kind of silly because she felt like overdressed. So, I don't want to like bash the guys, but I do just want to give you the tip that on a first date, we're not trying to be like shallow. I think it's more just like it feels considerate. It's similar to like a job interview. For a job interview, to show that you.
It's a good way to put it.
Yeah, like to show that you're like respectful
serious
of
about it.
their team, you're serious about it. Yeah, you bring your best, right? Like you're putting your best foot forward, and it's like that's how you're showing respect and consideration. And same on a date, I think. And it's not like, I mean, you don't have to show up in your Sunday best, but
wearing a tux.
Yeah. But like just something that is like jeans and like a t-shirt is fine. Just something that's like a step above like gym clothes, I would say.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that from you guys?
I definitely agree. And I think I just like what you said with the job interview analogy, because it's like, yeah, I remember actually super random story, but I was like, I don't know, 20 years old, I think. And I went in for a job interview at TJ Maxx. And in my head, I was like, I just, I see what they wear at TJ Maxx and it's like fine, but it's nothing crazy. So I think I wore like jean shorts, but they were still nice jean shorts, but I was 20. And I go in for the interview, have it. And at the end of the interview, the guy tells me, he's like, honestly, when you walked in here, I didn't think I was going to hire you because of what you wore. And I was like, oh. And he's like, but actually talking to you, like, you seem really solid and we'll like hire you. But he's like, if the other manager had interviewed you, he would have automatically like not hired you because of what you wore. And it's like, oh.
It's a good life lesson.
Yeah, no, it was really valuable. So like just saying, and again, he's like, I worked there for 2 years. They loved me. But just that impression was like, oh, you don't take things seriously and you don't care about being here. And so that can also translate in a date.
So good.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And with that, it like the interview, timeliness is huge.
Yes.
It's just being according to what you say you're going to do. I'm going to come pick you up at 7 or I'm going to be there at 7. That you show up. I would say show up early. Be ready for that date, and so that consistency, being a person of your word. Yeah, I totally agree. It is like an interview.
Yeah. Honestly, to call myself out, I need to work on this. I usually show up like 5 minutes late. I'm sorry, men out there.
You intentionally do that too sometimes, don't you?
I kind of do. I shouldn't.
Andrea,
why do you intentionally show up late?
Have a podcast
I don't want to be the
about
first one
women
there.
not dating well.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the first one there.
The Christians who don't date, you guys can do a podcast on. women who don't date well,
Oh
and
my
you can
gosh.
call me
That's
out.
right.
My friends wanted to make a podcast that said the Christians that don't date. They're both in
Her two
serious
guy
relationships.
friends. Her two
Yeah.
guy
My friends that are in serious relationships, that's why they don't date. So,
Yeah.
anyways, but they're stinkers.
They're
That's
so
so
funny.
funny.
Okay, so
I
we
love
kind
it.
of have talked a little bit about first dates, but what also has been like maybe, okay, you've done a first couple dates, you're more on the dating,
Mhm.
but you're like, these are really good like tips for guys of like, you're gonna keep dating if you keep doing what you're doing, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of it is you're learning that person. Like
Yeah.
that's what it is. It's not like you're learning, oh, these are the rules that work for every girl. What really hits home is when you figure out what works for this girl specifically.
Yeah.
And then, you figure out what's her favorite flower or what's her favorite snack or where does she like to go. And then like that's when we're like blown out of the water, is when a guy
Be real
remembers
simple.
something that we said
Yeah.
and then gives us a gift or plans a date around what we specifically like.
It does not take much. I had a guy, he got me running socks. I didn't ask for running socks, but I'm a runner, and he got me running socks. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. Like, it's just so, I'm like, it does not take much to
No.
swoon us.
That's so
Yeah.
sweet.
So,
Yeah, it really doesn't. It's true. Just we love thoughtfulness.
Yeah. I had it once where like a guy and I had gone on a couple dates, and every time I order coffee, if I get it hot, I always ask for extra hot. And I think he asked me, he's like, "Oh, do you like hot chocolate?" I was like, "Yeah." And he like brought hot chocolate to this date, and he was like, "Okay, I also got dark chocolate because I knew you like dark chocolate," which I do, and I think he found that out randomly. And he's like, "And I made sure it was extra hot because I know you always like it extra hot." And those are just like two things that I was like, that's just so thoughtful. Like you just like picked that up and like applied to that, and that's so sweet.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's really good.
just thoughtfulness, picking things up.
Love the thoughtfulness.
Yeah, for sure. We love it.
Another thing I think that's really helpful when it comes to the guys who are good at dating as well is that they start to enter into your spaces of your world. And so getting to know my friends, wanting to know about my family, the things I care about, maybe like just being a part of my life, but being really intentional about that, specifically with friends, wanting to get to know your friends. That is a person that's really good at dating. Like
Yes.
they're wanting to hang out with your friends, they're going to be a part of your community.
Mhm.
It puts women's anxieties at ease, I'd say. But then it shows, wow, this guy is like wanting to show up in my life to my people. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I love too when they like ask about your friends or your family. Like I think that that's so sweet. I'm like, oh. And remember things like, oh, like how did that person's like interview go or something? I'm like, that's so sweet. Like that you would just make it a point to remember, my roommate's thing that I told you about one time. Like,
Yeah.
that's really, really sweet. Yeah. And it just shows that they care. They care about you and they care about the people in your world and what you're experiencing.
Yeah. And I think too, you have to realize like, I mean, dating is, I feel like, oh my gosh, this is one of my number one lessons from my last relationship, but you're both sacrificing. So like you have to realize you both kind of have to put in, like you can't just expect to like be the one that gets something out of it all the time. Like it's like you're continually like doing things to grow this and nurture this and making it not about you and make it about that other person. And I think when you're both in that state where you're both like making an intention with each other's friends and with each other's family and getting to know each other, and like that's when it's the best. I think when if you're both like trying to like, I don't know, if you're both worried about the other person not meeting your needs, then it gets like kind of rough. And or if one person is the one that meets the needs all the time and the other person just takes, like
Yeah.
that doesn't work either, you know? So it's like, it's just this very like, you're both giving and then you both get to take, which is really nice, but it shouldn't, you know, you can't get out of balance. Like yeah. I feel like sometimes, I don't know, the movies make it feel like someone's going to show up and you're just going to like get to like take.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
But no, you both give.
that's good.
So, yeah.
I think another thing that I've seen with men who are really good at dating is they are resilient in allowing us to have flaws, and they're still going to
Yeah.
get to know us. And that's been some of the best guys I've dated, is they're not afraid of my crap and my shortcomings. And they're still like, no, let's like keep dating. Let's try to figure this out. And so
Yeah.
that is, if you can, as a guy, like be open to, you're never going to date a woman who's perfect. But that like you can really like get to know her through her flaws or things that are maybe different than you, that, I mean, you can end up maybe having like a really amazing relationship. And so I think I have gone against, I feel like with our Instagram and social media type of culture that we're in, there's this ideal of like perfectionism that's just not true. And I think I've gone on a couple first dates where I was like, this guy has a perfect woman that is impossible to be in his brain, and I can see him putting me against that, whoever that fantasy is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, good luck meeting that woman. Like,
Right.
she's not real. But I felt that a couple times on dates where I'm like, oh, I already like have missed the mark here, and here, because he has this like perfect list of a woman that is just like almost impossible. So he's missing out on getting to know me. And so I think if you can put that kind of list aside and just be present with that person, that woman, then she can kind of like open up and be her, and you might be actually way more interested than you think.
Yeah. Well, and even if, let's just say that perfect girl existed, she would not be dating you because you have flaws. But like, it's real, because sometimes I forget that like I have flaws too. Like I'm like, oh no, I have things that he has to put up with, you know? Like, it's hard to believe. I know, listeners of the podcast.
I don't believe it.
No,
Andrea's perfection.
She's so good at pickleball.
What a babe.
But I have flaws. I do.
What?
Very small flaws.
Don't ask these two, because we're all like crazy biased, but it's fine. Man, okay. I feel like we covered that.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts?
I would like to just give a good example, I think, of all the things we've kind of talked about when it comes to like just doing a good job of communicating, all the things. So I'm currently getting to know somebody. Pretty fresh.
Shout out right now.
I know. Shout out.
She shared that?
She shared that? I know. But the way that this guy I'm getting to know, the way that he went about it was just so good. And basically came up to me one day after church, and I knew who he was a little bit, but like didn't really have much interaction with him. We struck up a conversation. It was super easy. He had introduced himself to me like a couple of weeks before, and so I was just like, oh, hey, how's it going? We start chatting, and towards the end of the conversation I was kind of like, oh, like I wonder if this is like gonna go somewhere. And he just took a minute and he's like, hey, would you want to grab coffee sometime? And I was like, yeah, that'd actually be great. Gets my number and texts me like maybe, I don't know, an hour later, and says like,
wow.
says, hey, says his name, which is great. And he's like, would you be free like, I don't remember what it was. He's like, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. These are the times I'm available. Do any of those work for you?
Love it. Share the Google calendars.
So great.
Honestly, incredible.
Incredible. So I told him day and the time I was free. He's like, awesome. Let's go to this coffee shop. I'll meet you there. I was like, perfect. Just such clear communication. We
Wait,
go on-
can
sorry.
we say quickly?
Yeah.
First date, I think it is a good idea to meet there because
Yeah.
you don't know him yet.
Yeah.
So a lot of girls will probably want to meet you there.
That is a great point. And especially, you know, if it's not going well, you can just be like, I gotta go.
Yep.
Honestly, that's a big
the best.
thing.
Yeah.
So anyways, we go, we have a date. It's a really good date. And during the date too, he like is asking me questions, like just like listening. And then towards the end of the date, he was like, hey, like I actually have been thinking about like asking you out for a while, and I want to get to know you and I want to be intentional. So if you're interested in that, like let me know what days and times you're free during the week. And he's like, these are the things I have during the week, but I can be flexible and I would like to get to know you. And I was blown away. I was like,
we were blown away.
Yeah.
We were all blown away.
We were all just taken by storm. But I was just like, wow, he is just communicating and setting up expectations so well. And at every date we've gone on since then, like it'll be like when he's coming, he'll be like, hey, I'm coming to get you. We'll plan a date. Like, I'm like, if you want to come get me at like 6 or something. And then he'll text me when he's like on his way. And then he'll be like,
that's a good one.
He'll text me when he's here. And usually I'm running a few minutes late, and he's every time he's like, no rush, or it'll just be just chill. It's like not a big deal. So those things have gone such a long way. He also told me on the first date, he's like, just so you know, like I am not the best texter. He's like, it's something I'm trying to work on, but he's like, I do love talking on the phone or like having a FaceTime. So he's like, if you're open to that, like I would love to do that with you. Again, just setting expectation for me. I was like, oh, cool. Like, that's awesome. So like one of you said, when during the day, if he's not texting me back, I'm not like over here like, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? Or like, why is he not texting me back? I'm like, oh, it's just not his strongest suit. And honestly, he's a much better texter than he gives himself credit for. But I was just like, wow, like just that expectation out of the gate put me at so much ease, because I'm like, oh, I just know what to expect. So anyways, those are some of the things. And yeah, he's just done communication so well. So yeah.
Also, this person is a really good dater because they DM'd Dre to know what flowers to get her for her birthday. So again, he connected with the friends and got the insight of what she likes.
Yeah.
Which we were like, what? That's awesome. So goes a long way.
Goes a long way. He's crushing it.
Dude, honestly, guys, here's a pro tip. If you can get in with the friends, that is always a good idea, because you better believe she's going to her friends and asking them about you. Like that's where she, you know, like I think in a healthy situation, she's not dating alone. She's talking to people, she's bouncing things off them, you know. So like as much as you can show like I'm a man of character to not just her but her community, like that's just gonna help you out a lot.
Yep.
So good.
Which, Lauren, I feel like you've had someone that's kind of done that too. Like it's not just you, it's like he got to know your community, and then your whole community could weigh in and be like, no, this is a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. We need that. We need the family's insight eventually. We need friends' insight. We need people watching and, you know, missing things that maybe you're not. And we know a lot of people don't have that opportunity, maybe don't have community, or they don't have family that can do so. But we hope at least someone that you care about can weigh in on this person.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, for sure.
Yes. So,
okay.
Well, happy Halloween.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Not Halloween. To you guys listening, just to each other.
This is how we're celebrating Halloween.
I know. Yeah. I'm going to get something sweet. I don't know what. Maybe like an apple.
No other way. Oh, you did not just say that.
I know I'm being
Oh
bad.
my gosh.
I'm being bad. I'll find
Wow.
something.
Wow.
Maybe like chocolate protein.
wow. Stop. Oh my
This girl.
gosh.
This girl.
Anyways,
Ridiculous.
aw.
Okay. Well, we love y'all. Guys, if we left anything, you have questions about, please let us know. We want to answer all the questions. We want to help you be Christians who date. Okay. So,
Yeah. We want to help.
Yeah. Let us know. But other than that, I guess we'll see you next time.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Wow.
Bye.